Hi everyone, it's Michael, and I am so excited to be doing the bloom profile for number 26 in my orchid collection, my Aliceara Stellar. Now before I go any further with this, I just want to show you the plant because it is so stupid beautiful. Like, what kind of a leopard gift from the heavens is this, you guys? It's such a stunner. And it's a first time bloomer for me, so I think that's why I'm losing my mind so much. I've just never had the opportunity to really experience this. So let's talk a little bit about the history and background behind this plant. Now, I purchased this on August 10th, 2017 from Fantasy Orchids. I will link that orchid haul video below if you're curious. But this exact plant is actually a hybrid of the Oncidium Dale Lawless and the Aliceara Memoria J. Yamada. It was originally classified as a Bollara. In fact, when I went looking for it, I was looking for a Bollara. So when they showed this to me, I was like, no, it's a different plant. But just be aware of that, you guys. The names of these things change so rapidly and they're classified so differently that you may find exactly what you're looking for under a different name. So just be open to that. Just Google it. It's pretty simple. So now let's talk a little bit about its transition to semi-hydroponics. Now, this guy had kind of a strained transition, but that was totally my fault because I was not giving this enough water. It really is a moisture-loving plant. So I was just going through my regular routine of flushing every week and refreshing its reservoir every week, but really this needed more. It was drinking down all of its water within 2 to 3 days, so really it was just struggling through dryness for a period of 4 days. So it was very back and forth. It seemed like it was doing okay, and then it would drop a leaf, and then it would seem like it was doing okay, and then the reality is it just needed more water. So I eventually had to repot it, give it a much deeper water reservoir so it had greater water to drink from. And then once I did that, it started to do really well. And then once I added the layer of sphagnum moss on top, it really started to excel. So these plants, they're not challenging to care for at all. They are very similar to Oncidiums in terms of their care requirements, but you just want to make sure they never dry out. Now that being said, I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying. They don't want to be soggy. They don't want to be sopping wet. They do still need to experience that beautiful airiness to the medium that most epiphytic orchids do. So I would encourage you not to drown this plant, but at the same time, just make sure that your potting medium gives it enough space to have some airflow to the roots. Now let's talk a little bit about the timeline on this plant because it followed a different template than some of my other plants. Now, the flower spike on this appeared on August 11th of this year. So I kind of expected it to go like my other Oncidiums and develop quickly, but this one did not. It actually did not bloom until October 5th. So this has now been in bloom for a period of about 3 weeks. So this does take a bit of time to really give you that payoff. Now, I don't know exactly how long this is going to stay in bloom. Again, it's a first time bloomer for me, but I imagine it's going to be somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks because that's pretty standard. But as always, I will update the description of this video to reflect the exact timelines. So I will list exactly when the spike appeared, I'll list exactly when it went into bloom, and I'll list exactly when it drops its final bloom. So it'll give you a really specific understanding. Plus, I update that description every single time the plant blooms, so it'll give you an idea of frequency for as long as I have this plant in my collection. So now let's go in for a closer look while I talk about the flower spikes and the flowers themselves. Now, the flower spikes form at the base of each new pseudobulb, in between the pseudobulb and the innermost leaf. It can give you 2 inflorescences. Mine just happened to give me 1 on each of the 2 new pseudobulbs. Now, as we travel up the flower spike, you'll notice that the flowers are actually quite significant in size. The diameter is somewhere between 3 to 4 inches. Now, as we begin to explore the coloration, I get really excited because these are so gorgeous and multifaceted. The petals and the sepals are this gradient of pale pink to an almost fuchsia color, and then they're punctuated with these lovely maroon spots. The lip has that very same gradient, but has a blood red to almost magenta spotting on it, and then a bright pop of yellow in the dead center. Now, in terms of the fragrance of this plant, it really doesn't have a fragrance. If I put my nose directly into it, and you know how I like to do it, I really like to get in there. If you go really intensely into it, you kind of get the faintest floral, but it's nothing permeating. It's not going to fill your entire home. You'll barely be aware of there being any scent whatsoever, so I would not classify this as a fragrant orchid. Now, in terms of a designated bloom season, this guy doesn't really have one. So assuming you're giving it proper care, each time a new pseudobulb matures, it should give you 1 to 2 inflorescences. So I'm really excited to have figured out the moisture component and figured out how much this really loves water, because I feel now with this layer of sphagnum moss and with the larger water reservoir, it really will continue to sustain great momentum and keep blooming for me. So I couldn't be happier to have this as a part of the collection. The colors bring me so much joy, and I'm obsessed with this, you guys. So that's pretty much it. As always, thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me. If you have any questions, concerns, or feedback, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. Don't forget to click subscribe and have a beautiful rest of your day. Mwah! Bye, guys.